You've heard of Einstein, you've heard of Newton, you've heard of Curie, but have you ever heard of one of the greatest scientists ever in the field of computer science? Ike Antkare. Last time I talked about fake academic papers, conference papers and case reports as a simple way to prod whether a scientific publisher is doing its job. One of the names that came up was Cyril Labbe, who catalogued the amount of SciGen papers in published conference proceedings. He also did this, and it's another quietly interesting and beautiful piece of odd science. Let's ask the question, how do you measure how good a scientist is when the person doing the measuring and deciding on whether to pay someone is by definition not as good a scientist in the field as them? If they were, they would be them, rather than doing the measuring, don't you think? You need to find ways of working out who to employ and who to not, because there's going to be a lot more people who want to work as research scientists than you're ever going to get money to fund. How do you pick between them? Well, there's a few ideas around, but one of the things that's came up especially in the past years is to make some kind of numerical measure based on the work you produce and the number of people who cite it. There's a whole long and complicated argument about how useful this is, but I'm going to leave that out for the minute. You publish papers saying what you've done. If lots of people cite it, it might mean that there's a lot of scientists interested in your work, so you should be doing a good job. Maybe. Depending on field. Depending on a lot of other things. One measure of this is called the H-index. For a number H, that scientist has H papers published that are cited H times, taking the highest value of H. So say if I have one paper cited 7 times, 3 papers cited 3 times, 1 cited twice and 2 cited once, I would have a H-index of 3. The idea is you can't sit back on your arse because you've published one paper that got cited an enormous amount of times. To get a good H-index, you need a consistent body of work. This can be computed in many ways, and one of the ways that might be used is Google Scholar, which is free, convenient, and therefore very tempting. So what did Cyril Labbe do? He made a scientist better than Einstein in regards to H-index. He used SciGen to make a network of papers which cited each other, and they cited a few other genuine papers as well. As you can see, if your papers are cited by your other papers, you can fix yourself a high H-index the lazy way. I could get, for example, a H-index of 4. I could do this by making 4 papers, each one citing the other 3 and itself. I could get the H-index of 3 if each just cites the other papers. Do this with a very large number n, and you get a very respectable scientist. Labbe did this with 100 papers. There's a bit of theory versus result split because Google Scholar needs to crawl through a paper with a Google bot, but Ike Antkare quite quickly ended up with a respectable H-index of 94, a more influential man than Einstein, and the greatest computer scientist ever. I'll leave you with Labbe's report, linked in the description. It's a rather interesting read for a clever idea. Goodbye.